Welcome to Holding Space with Authentically Amy. This is a place where you don't have to perform, prove, or hold it all together. You're allowed to exhale, to feel, to speak, or just be. Here, your truth is safe, your emotions are honored, and your soul is gently invited to the surface. I'm not here to fix you because I don't believe you're broken. I believe your soul already knows the way. My role isn't to give you advice, but to hold a steady frequency of love so you have space to rise. This podcast is an extension of my own healing. If you're here, you belong, and I'm honored to sit beside you. Welcome back to another episode of Holding Space with Authentically Amy. I am so glad you're here joining us for another episode. I am so honored to have Russell Van Brocklen here with me today. Thank you so much for being here, Russell.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I am here to hold space for you. So whatever feels heavy on your heart today that might help to talk about, I'm here to hold space for you. So go ahead. I'll turn the stage over to you.
Well, what's frustrating me the most right now is the New York State government has been trying to completely redo kindergarten through fifth grade dyslexia education for a couple of years now. And last year they spent an entire year with 100 of the top people in the state coming up with a plan to do this. They call it the New York State Dyslexia Task Force. And they tried passing it despite us being the highest tax state in the country. Sorry, California, New York beats you in that. We're spending more per kid than anybody else. We can't afford it. And it takes too long to train the teachers. So I found a better way. And the biggest thing I'm trying to do is to spread the word so we can actually solve this scientifically and economically. So that's my big frustration.
It's so interesting. You know, I have family members who have dyslexia, and I
Mhm.
don't have it myself, so I don't know what that's like. But I hear that it's a bigger problem than people think. Like a lot of kids maybe have it and they don't really know that that's the issue that they're having. Do you see that?
Right. Oh yeah. But first of all, just so you know what dyslexia is.
Yeah.
This is the top book in the field on dyslexia. It's from a medical doctor from Yale, Dr. Shaywitz. That's dyslexia. Do you see how the back part of your brain has all this massive neural activity?
Yes.
Now, do you see how the back part of mine has next to nothing?
Yes.
Now, the front part of my brain's about 2.5 times overactive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's how you correct dyslexia. So, my story, I wasn't supposed to be doing this. I was supposed to be a bureaucrat in the New York State government. So
Really?
what happened was, it was the late 90s. I wanted to find out how bills were made, how laws became laws. I didn't want some course. I wanted to know. So I went and I signed up for the New York State Assembly internship program. And they accepted me, and I show up with my neuropsychological evaluation. I say, "Here you go. I have a first grade reading and writing level." And they looked at me and said, "This will not work. This cannot work. Not with that much of a severity." So instead of kicking me out, they went to the speaker's office, and the speaker his name was Sheldon Silver at the time. He was quite serious. "You're not kicking this kid out. Accommodate him, get this done." So they got a committee together of senior people, and they said, "Russell, we're taking you out of the legislative office building where all the other interns are. We're going to send you to the Capitol, to the Majority Leaders Program and Council's office." And they were a little on edge, like what my thoughts were. I was like, "Cool," because there's two levels of an intern. The first one was, the undergrads, which was kind of go get coffee, do the answer phones stuff.
Sure.
The Capitol didn't deal with undergrads; they dealt with grad students. So these were policy positions. They got paid like 5 times what we got paid, and it was a much longer internship. It was a real staff position. So I go over there. And I found out why. There's 3 administrative assistants who could help take my disgusting writing. It was disgusting, and bring it up to something I could turn in each week. And they were and then they bought me a $2,000 computer. All right. And they accommodated the heck out of me. Then for my research project, I ended up giving a long presentation instead of a paper, which was a very common combination for me back then. Why do I say I should have been a bureaucrat? I was in the majority leaders program and council's office. All right. So in other words, the place that ran the assembly day to day, I had access to all of these people. They really liked me because I stayed late. They had a project. They're like, well, we're going to stay here until 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, count me in. Well, you don't have to. Yes, I do. And they loved that I just did all the volunteer work. Okay. So I had access. So it would have put me in a very prominent position. But at the end of the internship, they sent my grades back to the State University of New York Center at Buffalo. Okay, now remember, these accommodations were created by the New York State Legislature, the New York State government. Its flagship campus, the political science department, looked at the accommodations and said, we don't like these. So here's your 15 credits of F.
Wow.
Yeah, you speak about a good, this. This is like the state legislature came up with this from the speaker's office, and you say, instead of A minus, here's your 15 credits of F. And I was just like, I'm done with the discrimination. I went to
Yeah.
my other professors and I said, where can I go to law school? I said, where can I go to grad school to learn how to read and write so I can teach others, other dyslexics? And they said, law school, because you read and write more there than anybody. I said, oh, okay. They weren't serious. So I go and I sign up and I audit for a couple of law classes. I go in, it's my second day of contracts. And Professor Warner, he's a dyslexic professor, called on me. Now, what they do in law school is they crush you. Call the Socratic method. They will literally ask you questions you don't know the answers to until you adapt, to embarrass you publicly so you adapt as rapidly as possible. That
Mm.
didn't happen to me. He crushed everybody else he called on in sequence. Not me. He called on me and I answered. He trying to squash me. Never happened. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He raised his hands. He said, Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. I have to move on to the other case in the interest of time. My classmates who became attorneys still can't do that, not with a professor, not in their field.
Mm.
So I learned law school within, second day, and I learned to read within a month, right within a couple of years. And then I wanted to
Wow.
show, yeah, well, at that point, I was like, hey, I can read and write. Now, how to show other dyslexics so they don't go the hell I went through. So
Yeah.
I went back to the New York State Senate because my senator was the majority leader. Back then, when we're dealing with traditional Republicans, they were quite simple. They want something to come from the public schools, and they wanted better, faster, cheaper. And then they wanted secondary support from the education department and the professors. They cared about the schools first. Democrats are different. They want to start from a bill and work down. Republicans want to go from the ground and work up. So I said, okay, I want you to fund my research. Well, that took a number of years. And finally, years later, we got, it was one class period a day for the school year. We took only highly motivated, highly intelligent dyslexic students. I wanted to know what I could do with the ideal people that were like me when I was in college. And we got their best teacher, Susan Ford, at the Averill Park Central School District. They went from middle school writing, and then 180 class sessions later, they're writing on average of entering graduate school students. They bypassed high school, they bypassed college. They all went to college, GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6, and it cost the state less than $900 a kid. That's how I got started.
Wow. Oh my word. I just am speechless over here. Just all of these questions are coming to my mind. I kind of want to go back though. This is an
Mm-hmm.
amazing story. So I want to go back to when you were in school. Did you know that you had or that you have dyslexia? And did the teachers accommodate you while you were in like elementary school, grade school, middle school, high school?
I was placed in special ed at the beginning of third grade. And their idea of accommodations was a joke. Accommodating
Yeah.
doesn't work. I
Hmm.
had to figure out my own area. So let me go to the science. All right.
Sure.
Here's the science again.
Right.
You see, again, the back part of the dyslexic brain is incredibly active for the normal brain, but nothing in the dyslexic brain. You see that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. How do you accommodate nothing? So it's kind
Hmm.
of like I want you. For me, the sport I'm really bad at is basketball. Okay, I'm horrible. What sport are you really, really bad at?
Oh,
For you?
most of them.
No, but
Most
just
of
pick
them.
one that you're really, really, really bad at.
Oh, like tennis.
Okay. Now imagine we say, okay, we're going to give you a $10,000 tennis racket. Okay. We're going to give you the best tennis shoes on the planet. All right. We'll get the best tennis balls and we'll make your opponent who's gifted at tennis have used Walmart equipment. We're accommodating you. Does it really
Mm,
matter?
yeah,
Imagine
gosh,
if your income was dependent on your ability to play tennis then. Could you see how you're going to be losing your house and going hungry?
absolutely. Yeah,
Because your body is not designed for tennis. Okay. Well, the other person's is. What's going on is the school system is not trying to be mean to neurodiverse people.
right.
What they're doing is it works. What they're doing works best for 80+% of their population. So I want you to think back to your school days. If you were properly organized and really worked hard, you may not have done excellent in every subject, but overall you did really well. Does that make sense?
Yes,
It came down to just generally at the base level two things. Were you properly organized and did you work hard? Not for everything, but for overall. That's what happens for most kids when they go to general school. All right, with the dyslexic, because nothing's going on back there, you could work 20 times harder and still do horrible. Okay. Remember what I said in graduate school, though? I walked
hmm
into law school and I just owned it day one. And then when I had to write up my research plan, my curriculum, I had to attach it to Professor James Collins at SUNY Center at Buffalo. Now, people told me it was going to take years to get his approval because he got $1.5 million grant from the U.S. Education Department in this area. I said, "Here's how you take your stuff from mild dyslexia to severe dyslexia." I got an A+ within 2 weeks.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, I'm dyslexic. Okay. So that's the advantage of dyslexia. So the whole point is how do we take everything we're doing and shift it towards the front part of the brain? So do you know, you said you know some, did you ever know a dyslexic elementary school kid really well?
Yes,
Okay. Change their name to protect their identity. What's the made up name of this kid?
Sam.
Sam. How old is Sam and what grade level was he in?
Uh, 10. And what grade is it? Third grade,
No,
maybe?
10th is usually around fifth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
can't remember. Just about 10 years old, though.
Okay. 10. Okay. Was Sam essentially writing randomly placed misspelled words?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you how to fix that in the next few minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So essentially, again, what we're going to do is I'm going back to the science here. Front part of the brain's 2.5 times overactive.
hmm
Okay. Word analysis followed by articulation. So first thing we're going to do is word analysis. So tell me, what is Sam's speciality? What's his area of extreme interest and ability?
Robots.
Robots. Okay. So what we're going to do, first thing you're going to do with Sam is you're going to write out 10 things that Sam really, really likes, 10 things Sam really, really hates. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with, we're going to type on a laptop with a real keyboard, not an iPad, not an iPhone, certainly not handwriting on a real keyboard, usually a laptop. You're going to type out hero, plus sign. What are we talking about? And then Sam's going to copy that. Hero, plus sign. What are we talking about? It's okay to copy. Professor James Collins, Strategies for Struggling Writers, Default Writing Strategy of Copying. So then what we're going to do is we're going to swap out hero for Sam. Sam, plus sign. What are we talking about? Then we're going to go to the list and take the first thing he loves, robots. We're going to swap it out for what are we talking about? So we got Sam, plus sign, robots. Does that make sense?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to try to fool you with the simplest questions ever. If you answer them correctly, this works. If it doesn't, it doesn't work. All right. The simplest questions ever. Most
Okay.
people have an epiphany on what dyslexia really is. Do you think I can fool you?
It's likely. It
Okay,
can
well, let's see.
happen. It can happen.
Just remember, answer these as exactly as possible. So we
Okay.
got Sam, plus sign, robots. We
Okay.
need to swap out the plus sign for a word to make a sentence. Here's my question. Does Sam like or dislike robots?
Like.
Very good. You're one of the few people that answered that correctly. Now, replace the plus sign with that word. What's the three-word sentence?
Sam likes robots.
You messed up.
Like.
You that's
Sam like.
that
Sam like
yeah, yeah.
robots.
Do you see where your mistake was?
Yes, I see
What
it.
was
As
your
soon as I almost said, but it didn't make sense to me. Sam like
what
robots
was,
doesn't make sense to me.
right, but what was the mistake you made when you first said the sentence?
I said Sam likes robots instead
Right,
of
you
Sam
added the
like.
S. Yes.
Yes.
You did what almost, and then you caught yourself. You did
Yeah.
what almost every educated person does. That to make the sentence, they automatically add the S. Sam's dyslexic. He doesn't know how to add the S.
Hmm.
So we have to figure out how do we get a dyslexic 10-year-old to add the S? Well, if you were worth untold millions of dollars, you would send Sam to a place like the West, like the wet, the Westwards. I'm sorry, the like at the Gow School in outside of Buffalo, okay, or the Windward School in Manhattan. They use an Orton Gillingham approach, okay, which is they see it, touch it, hear it, multi-sensory. It's called a Orton Gillingham multi-sensory structured language approach. You see it, touch it, hear it. All of this stuff hasn't changed much since the 1950s. Okay. So what you're going to do is do all of that, and it would take you 2 years to become certified. And the schools are 4 to 1 to 5 to 1 student to teacher ratio. They run about
Wow.
75,000 a year. All right. Now the Windward School in Manhattan, they'll say they have a 98% success rate of taking students like Sam in and sending them back to their normal school after 4 to 5 years of 75 grand a year. Okay. I'm going to show you a way to do this without house money. So
Okay.
what we
I
do,
was going to say, and let me interject here that I have a lot of teachers and parents that in my audience and that are friends that will be watching this. So if
hmm?
however you can share with them to help dyslexic children that they work with, I know they would appreciate it.
Well, so here's how we get this corrected. We ask Sam, because he's going to say like, Sam like robots. Sam, read that out loud. Sam like robots. Sam, does that sound generally correct? That's the big question. Does that sound generally correct? Sam, does that sound generally correct? No. Sam, fix it. Sam likes robots. We do that with 10 likes and 10 dislikes. That's if he reads a sentence and does it sound generally correct, or a paragraph does it sound generally correct? No, tell him to fix it. And then I'll give you some more tools as we go around how to do that, but that fixes it. Now, does that correct everything? No. What teachers tell me is they don't know what to do with a really horrible grammar. They don't know what to do with randomly
Mm-hmm.
placed misspelled words. But if it's a mild or if it's a minimum or a moderate grammar mistake, they can deal with that. They just don't know what to do with the nasty stuff. Well, that
Sure.
fixes the nasty stuff. All right. Now, do you see how like and dislike is a simple form of word analysis?
Sure.
Okay. So, again, front part of the brain, 2.5 times the neural activity. All right. This is where we're moving it to. Now, then we're going to go because Sam likes robots because can you see the reasons after because are a simple form of articulation?
Yes.
So the front part of the brain deals with word analysis followed by articulation. We now moved it from back here where nothing's going on to up here where we got 2.5 times the activity. We're going from an uncoordinated kid who always gets picked last in kickball. Hello, that was me, to the athletic superstar. See, that's the shift. So now, why? Give me a simple reason why Sam would like robots.
He likes robots because of the intricacy. He likes to see how things work together, like the pieces work together.
Sam likes robots because of the intricacy. He wants to know how they work together. Can
Yes.
you see now how we have a whole mess of misspelled words there?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, teachers have been, because I've been training special ed teachers in New York City how to do this for the past decade. They said, how do we do that? How do we fix this? And my response is, it's really easy. What? I've been working for years. I can't see why. I said, that's because I went through this. I solved it for myself. I'm a dyslexia researcher. Here's how you do it. You tell Sam, once he says that, to drop a period. Then if for grammar, if there's a major grammatical mistake, tell him to read it out loud and then to fix it and then retype it. Okay? But only for major grammatical mistakes, not for minimum or moderate ones, just the nasty stuff. Number two, if there's a spelling mistake, he's got to retype the entire thing. He's going to retype that between 3 and 13 times, typically.
Wow.
Each time he says, I'm not going to make that mistake. And what does he do? He keeps making a spelling mistake until he doesn't. But as he keeps retyping, he's going to be concentrating harder and harder. And this is where the magic starts to happen. Once around 9 to 13 times, he could be concentrating so hard, sometimes you see sweat coming down their forehead.
Hmm.
All right. And that's where the magic happens until they get it right. You do that for all 20 to make sure the spelling and grammar is good. I mean, this grammar's besides the nasty stuff and the spelling, it's all correct for all 20. Then you do reason one and reason two. Then reason one, reason two, and reason three. For a fifth grader, that typically takes between 2 and 6 weeks. For a third grader, it could take the entire semester. This
Hmm.
does not require a certified teacher. Mom can do this at home. I'm
I was
not,
going
so,
to ask. Yeah.
not to be sexist, but for K through high school, back when Facebook told us way too much about our customers, it was 90% moms.
Hmm.
And I found out that in real life, it's almost always mom who does that. Sometimes dad. Dad usually gets involved in college when they're not going to work out and they have a failure to launch possibility. Then they tend to get involved. So we do that. And what does this mean? Typically, these kids are writing at the kindergarten to first part of first grade. So you're looking at this as the end of second, beginning third grade level. You're looking at a 1.5, 2 grade level increase. And here's another part. If they can write it, they can read it.
Hmm.
If you can write a word and you know the word, you know the definition, you can read the word. So I don't teach reading. I teach writing, and reading improves along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing I found out. Because when I presented in New York City, they asked, wow, you did an amazing job with the super kids. What about normal dyslexics? I said, nope, won't work. So I had to switch it from articulation followed by word analysis to word analysis followed by articulation. But then I
Hmm.
still couldn't get the kids to do anything. I couldn't get them to work. I was like, how the heck do I solve this problem? And then I
Yeah.
realized I went back and I talked to all the successful professors that were dyslexic and they didn't go to one of these specialized schools, and they all told me the same thing. K through college, they did not do well. First day of grad school, they owned the place day one or soon thereafter. I was like, what's different about grad school? It's
Hmm.
hyper focused into a speciality.
Oh,
So
yes.
then I said, yeah. So I said, okay, let's focus on their speciality. Now, this example that I'm going to tell you, I never saw this before. I will never see this again. This was a one off, just outstandingly motivated kid. Her name was Casey. I met her when she was 10 years old, just finishing fifth grade. She turned 11 over the summertime. Casey was really interested in Theodore Roosevelt. So I signed her The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. All
Oh,
900 pages, 10th grade to first year college level. This is designed for
Wow.
the Pulitzer. And so this won the Pulitzer. Casey said, I want to do reading first. I said, Casey, I don't do reading. I do writing, and then reading naturally just kind of follows along. No, I want to do reading first. Okay, I'll show you how to do reading. I modified a part of the writing program. I said, you're not doing this. I'll do it. Okay, Casey. I'm humoring her. I said, talk to
Right.
your mom. Maybe you do 20, 30 minutes once, twice, a couple times a week. It's up to your mom. Not Casey. She went up into a room, essentially locked herself away for 2 to 3 hours a night, 6, 7 nights a week, most of the days during summer. Going through that really difficult, it's a simple process, but it was mind numbing. And she just sat there and did it.
Mm.
6 months later, her teacher calls. There was an incident in the private, with silent reading. None of the other kids could get past her first paragraph. They did some additional investigation. They said, your daughter is supposed to have a severe reading problem. She's the best reader in the class by grade levels. What's going on? Her
Mm.
mom calls me. I said, what do you think she's been doing in her room for several hours a night? So, just out of curiosity, I cleared this with her mom. When Casey was finished with the book, I wanted to see what would happen if I gave her a book she didn't like. This is
Mm-hmm.
my most, this book is by far my most popular. Walt Disney's biography. Just
Yeah.
kids go to Disney World and they feel the Disney magic. And I said that's two universal themes. They want to know what those are. So, but they have to
Mm-hmm.
read that book to find out. Casey hated it. Couple months in, I said, "Okay, Casey, how's this going?" I made sure her mom was around so she could get a good laugh. And she's like, I hate it. I said, how much has this dropped your motivation? And she said, about 50%. So I want parents to understand and teachers to understand, why is this accommodation not working? Because dyslexics, by who we are, we're academic specialists, not generalists. We want to specialize, but we can't do that until grad school. So do you remember in English class how we used to have to, in high school, used to do like what, 5, 10, 15 books a year or something like that?
Sure.
I When I teach these kids, these books, they're on one book for years,
Mm-hmm.
typically. One in their speciality. So you pull them out of their speciality, Casey's down 50%. Most of these kids are down 75, 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Next big problem. Do you remember in school how they taught you from the general to the specific?
Sure.
For dyslexics, that's like grabbing fog, nothing to grab onto. So
Mm.
you can't ask us what effect did did Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech have in the 1950s civil rights movement? Go back to any college-bound high school kid; they'll just take that and run. They know exactly what to do. Dyslexic, it's grabbing fog. How do we fix that? We teach not from the general to the specific. I mean, from the general to the specific. We teach from the specific to the general.
Mm.
So we ask the question, what personally compelled Martin Luther King to give his famous "I Have a Dream" speech? All right. What, and then from there we look it up, we find the answer. The answer gives us a question. That gives us another answer, which gives us another question, which gives us an answer. Here's the key point. This forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. Okay, let me say that again. It forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. So, for example, if you ask a dyslexic or ADD or ADHD kid, because it works for all three, in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed? Key question, but with little to no organization. The answer is yes. So then what we do is we force the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. So so during the intervention period, we focus until we get the kid to grade level. We work with them in their speciality. We teach from the specific to the general, and then word analysis followed by articulation. If you do that, amazing things happen.
Yeah, I love this because one of the research projects I did for my master's degree was pretty much this, but I didn't think about applying it to kids with dyslexia. It was because I taught language arts and I
Mhm.
noticed that they didn't like to read. How could I get them to enjoy reading? And my research showed that if you give them something to read that they enjoy, they will read. It's exactly what you just said. Like they just will devour it if it's something that they like. But if it's something that they don't like, yeah, they're just like totally averse to it. So it can apply to kids without dyslexia too, I think. Like the
Oh yeah,
other kids, this can help them too.
but just how parents ask, well, how powerful is this? Well, parents kept asking, give me a case study that actually worked. So I said, okay. I met in December 27th of 2024. I met Kimberly and her son Reed. I'm writing a book on that right now called Literacy and Dyslexia Reading Turnaround.
Mm,
And in that book, what we're going through is Kimberly's hopes, dreams, fears, values, successes. And she said she felt like she was a failure with her son because she taught his four brothers and sisters using standard methods how to read quite well, but nothing worked with him. So she had him, she paid $700 to have all her kids tested by the state of Ohio for that school year. In mid-December, he was tested, and he was in the 11th percentile in reading, fourth percentile in writing. If he were in public school for the rest of the school year, he was supposed to increase by 2 to 2.5 points for that test measurement. That
mm.
didn't happen. He increased by 20 points,
Wow.
7 times faster. And Kimberly literally spent half the time teaching him English than the school district would have because she taught this process. So when he was retested at the end of the school year, and I'm going to give you the summer numbers after the typical decrease in the summer, when he was in a public school, because his friends said, Reed, we want you in public school with us for social reasons. If that was January, he would have been put in special ed, away from his
Mm-hmm.
friends. Unhappy kid. He goes into sixth grade as a typical student in normal classes. He's an AB student. He increased from the 11th percentile in reading to the 65th percentile. In writing, he went from the 4th percentile to the 64th.
That's just amazing. I just am speechless. And I love what really is standing out to me is that this was your life. Like you lived this. This is lived experience.
This
It's
is
not
this is
right. It's not
do
just
this every day.
research. It's lived experience. You figured out how to make it work for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're using it to help other people too. And that's just beautiful. I just love that so much. And I would like for you, if you don't mind, to tell the audience a little bit more about what you do. You've told us a little bit about your experience, but like,
Mm-hmm.
how can people get a hold of you? What do you help people with? How do you, what kind of offers do you have? That kind of thing.
Well, the easiest way to get a hold of me is just go to dyslexiaclasses.com. Again, that's dyslexiaclasses with an S.com. There's a button right there on the homepage that says download free guide. Just fill out a few questions. You get a free document that says the 3 reasons your child's having trouble in school due to dyslexia. And then you actually have to make an appointment to speak with me. Like literally, just don't fill out those 3 questions. Go on to the online calendar and pick out a half an hour time. It's no cost. I help you find your kid's speciality, their area of extreme interest and ability. I can't teach that. I have to do it myself because it's kind of hard for most people to do. So then we find that, and I ask the kids a few questions. They're like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That's me." And then they said, "Yeah, this is how they want to overcome their issues." And then what we do is we work with families on an annual basis. You can choose that, or some families just choose to go course by course. And we have a weekly webinar to answer all your questions. All right. And you simply go through the online course at your speed. Kimberly did this in 6 months, but she was quite diligent about it. Some kids take longer, some kids take shorter. The older the kid is, the quicker they pick it up generally. Uh, and it's just easier just to do it yourself and to solve the problem. For teachers, I work with Evelyn Whitebay. She was on the dyslexia task force, is one of the few teachers because she was 3x to 4x more successful than the typical special ed teacher. Using this process, she was under a court mandated review, working with a dyslexic kid who fell way far behind. And remember, she's a master teacher. Well, Kimberly increased. The kid was a grade and a half level behind, and he was on grade level after that in 6 months. Didn't happen with Evelyn. Her kid increased by 6.6 grade levels in about the same time
What?
frame. Yeah, but remember, New York State Education Department went around to find the best special ed teachers to be on the task force. They only had a couple of them, and she was selected and kind of bullied onto the task force. The education department contacted her former superintendent. She was retired. They put enormous pressure on her because she was just so incredibly successful and they wanted to know how. So they put her on. So she is, but we came together. We come into teachers and we can show school district how to do this in about 3 hours.
So
That's
do
it.
you work with schools around
Yes,
the United
around the
States?
country, around the
Okay.
country. And what we do is this is all done online. This is not
Okay.
that hard. We started, I've been teaching teachers to do this in some form in New York City at the Everyone Reading Conference for, the past 10 years. This past year, I teamed up for Evelyn. We're going to do it again in March. I taught the entire state of New Jersey how to do this because of the pandemic. That was tight. They only gave me 2 hours to teach them to take their kids from they can't write a 3-word sentence to a basic 5-paragraph essay. I
Hmm.
prefer 3, which is still insanely effective and efficient. And we start up, we just show up, we show up online, we walk you through. You know exactly what to do. Okay, exactly. I'm just showing you how to do it in a slightly different order. And one question I get all the time by teachers, well, I can't have the kids each doing their own speciality. It won't work. And I was like, this. So I went to Evelyn. This is Evelyn White Bay's idea, not mine. This is Evelyn's. She said, of course you can't do that, but you could pick 2 or 3 books that the kids are at least somewhat interested in and go around in groups and let them work together in a group. Okay. So anytime it's like, Evelyn, how do we translate this into the teacher's real world? She's just like, oh, here's the answer because she's been doing this for decades.
Yeah. I could
Okay.
see where this would help. I mean, as a former language arts teacher, like I
Mm-hmm.
would have loved to have had this training for all of my students, not just those that are considered to have dyslexia, but for all of them.
Oh, but what I showed you was that was what we did with Reed was really just the beginning. The next thing we did is that was for elementary school. But for middle and high school, we needed to advance things much more rapidly.
Hmm.
So what I did is there's this book called The Craft of Research. Are you familiar with it?
I haven't heard of it. No.
It's from the University of Chicago, came out in 1995 because the PhD students there didn't know how to write their dissertations.
Hmm.
And now they dropped it to advanced high school. And every professor I spoke with, I was just on a podcast with he was an associate professor in college. He said kids should know the craft of research before they go to college.
Hmm.
It's context, problem, solution. The best private schools in New York City don't go near because it's too evolved. I've dropped context down to 9-year-olds. The more advanced form. So what I did with Reed, just so everybody understands, what we're doing now is I showed him a 1-quote paragraph. Now we're doing 2 quotes. It's the same universal theme. He finds 2 quotes, one from the beginning of the book, one from near the end for each body paragraph. With that, we show him how to turn that into a topic sentence. And then here's the real breakthrough. Do you know what a warrant is in regards to a body paragraph?
I've not, it's not coming to
Yeah,
me.
very, very few people have ever heard it
Yeah.
at the master's level.
Uh-uh.
What it is it's used by doctoral students all the time. Is in a body paragraph, you have to connect your topic sentence with all your facts, which in this case are 2 quotes. And it's a way of connecting those two in an analytical conversational means. It's the research shows that it's used very limited at the middle and high school level. I
Mm.
rely on it as the breakthrough. So we add a warrant to connect those two together, And then we have a last part of the sentence is a combination of what's required to do satisfactory on the New York State High School Regents exam in English and what the craft of research suggests. We kind of combine that to a few more steps. And they master that for body paragraphs. That brings your body paragraphs, if executed properly, to the 11th, 12th grade to first year college level, somewhere in there. Then we focus on my original program. We've adapted it to take the GRE type style of an argument, and I wrote up a program for artificial intelligence. All the parent does is type in the kid's speciality and their grade level that you want this, and it starts spitting out custom like for them four at a time. And we go through an updated process. You get done with that, they're well into the college level. I
My
get them
goodness.
way ahead of times. Yeah. So now that's that's what we're trying. And then I still haven't done problem or solution. I do that for the kids who really, really want. But what do I mean by solution? Tell me a book that everybody reads in high school that you still remember.
Oh, To Kill a Mockingbird?
Okay. How could you write something completely original on The Kill a Mockingbird that nobody else has written before?
Probably.
Okay. How many times as an English teacher did you ever get essays like that where you learned something
Oh, no.
substantive?
No.
Way I teach it, it happens every time. Our goal is original, not at the high school level, but at the graduate level. And just so people know, when I'm doing the solution, I am requiring you to get the expensive $200 a month artificial intelligence. Why? Because we're running it through that 5 times at least. You have to know how to use the $200 version of the artificial intelligence to do it at the way that we designed it. Why? Because when those kids step out in the real world, and this is just happening over the past several months, especially when ChatGPT 5 Pro came out, which is 200
Hmm.
bucks a month, the companies are expecting you to be able to hit the ground running, knowing how to use these things so that you can become senior within 6 to 12 months. If you can do that, these kids will do very well. They will see their salaries go up tremendously. If not, somebody else will just hire them
Hmm.
and just plug them right in. They'll love it. Very few kids can do that out of college. And that's why they're finding it so hard to get a job. Why? Because a lot of the stuff that these kids, I would hire a kid to do right out of college, I'm just having the AI do it. And
Hmm.
honestly, and it does better faster than most of them. And then I put it together. I don't hire somebody unless if they have a master's degree, because then they don't like, think about what you do as a teacher. You get 10, 20, 30 kids, whatever the number is. You teach them, they have to be someplace at the end of the school year. Each one of them is having trouble in some way, shape, or form, so they can't really do it. You find a
Hmm.
way to solve it for the vast majority of them, and they may not be exactly what some kids will be above expectations, some expect, some below, but by and large, you've done your job, and you do it year in, year out. If you can't do that and use artificial intelligence to accelerate your productivity, the good jobs are just not going to be there.
Hmm.
And it's just showing that now. So if you know the craft of research, you can go in and prompt. I've showed you how to prompt engineer your brain. You can know nothing about it and just go in and talk to it, type it, and say, okay, here, let's get the contract, let's get the context, then the problem, then the solution. And working with the AI is kind of like working with a temperamental dyslexic. Doesn't want to do what it's told,
Yeah.
and but if you understand the process, you can eventually, through just brute force of knowing how to do it, get it to do what you want it to do before you even know anything about prompt engineering. That's
Yeah.
how important this is.
Fascinating. Oh, I'm definitely going to check out that book. And I have a 15-year-old son who has ADHD, and he's
Okay.
looking at what to do in the future college. So I think he and I may dig into that book together. I think that's a
Well, the problem is the book, the way it's written, is inaccessible to most people because they
okay.
say it's for high school kids. It's really still for PhD students. Now, make up a
Okay.
name for your son.
Uh, Jim.
Jim. Okay. So for Jim, what is his speciality? What is his area of extreme interest and ability?
Engineering.
Okay, so he wants to be an engineer. I
Hmm.
know about that because I flunked out of it. All
Oh.
right. Neuroscience was much easier. So he wants to be an engineer. So that means his first 2 years of college is pretty much set.
Hmm.
It's four physics, two chem, four math, and some other stuff. It's been that way for decades.
Yeah.
Okay. So is he really gifted at math and science?
Yes. He really
Okay.
is.
Let me guess, English is the problem.
Yes.
Okay. What's his
Hmm.
reading and writing level at right now?
Oh, he's on level, 10th grade. He's probably a little
Okay.
bit above level. It's his comprehension that he struggles with.
It's his comprehension that's what's scaring him because
Hmm.
engineering. I mean, let me just tell you what it was like when I started. We had a physics professor who used to work at NASA. All right. So we went to him and we said, "We have no life. All the other kids are out having parties, they have a social life. We have nothing." And he said, "Yeah, that's
Hmm.
normal." He said, "It's not that engineering science is more difficult than other majors. It's like kind of like what I found in law school. There's just so much more work. And the typical student was taking 21 credits. The other kids are taking 15 and they don't
Right.
require anywhere." He said some kid complained about the rich kids could afford the graphical calculators back then. This was
Mm.
93, 92. And can we bring in a sheet of paper with the formulas on it? He finally said, "You know what? I'll make a 3 hour test, an 8 hour test. You can bring your textbooks in, bring your notes. Doesn't matter. It will make literally no difference." And the kids are like, "What do you mean?" He said, "If you can't apply what I've taught you, it's worthless." This isn't
Hmm.
like history, where if you bring in the
Right.
textbook and all your notes, you don't get an A. It's like, what's wrong with you?
Hmm.
So the reading is a concern. So what he's concerned about is how, okay, so you think that ADD is affecting his reading.
I do, and we have thought about having him tested for dyslexia because he
Okay.
does struggle
What if I
some
told
areas.
you dyslexia is not a reading problem? Would that kind of shock you?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a book called Post-War Japan is History. This is used at
Okay.
Harvard for seniors in post-war Japanese history beginning grad students. This essay is written by Professor Dower from MIT. He won the Pulitzer in the National Book Award. Okay? So, you have a master's degree in what precisely?
Educational, educational and community renewal,
Okay.
helping
So
schools and
you're
communities work together.
but would you say that you're a really good reader?
I am, yes.
Would you like me to potentially give you something that'll just shock the living heck out of you about what dyslexics can read and what you can read? Are you ready?
Yes, hit me. Yes.
Okay. This is again written by a guy who won the Pulitzer and the National Book Award. I'm going to read just a couple of sentences, and I just want you to tell me what's going on generally.
Okay.
Okay. The title of the essay, and for your audience, you do want to listen to this because this will profoundly affect your understanding of dyslexia and reading. Okay, so the essay is titled Peace and Democracy in Two Systems, External Policy and Internal Conflict. Wow, doesn't this sound like fun? Okay, here we go. Ever since Japan's seclusion was ruptured by the Western nations in 1853, democratic and international politics have been interwoven for the Japanese. What does that mean in general?
Um, oh, it's a lot. It's deep. History is not my thing. That Japan and politics don't get along. That's all I drew out of that.
Okay, now it's going to get even worse. Slogans used for mobilizing succeeding generations convey this interconnection. What does that mean?
I don't understand the use of the word slogans there. I don't think.
Right.
Like
So if I keep going, what happens for most non-dyslectics is they go, I can't understand this. The reason why, and think about it, you have a master's degree. This is not meant to embarrass you, but just to point
sure.
out again, when I had this in class, I thought that was a joke. I thought that was the easiest thing I ever read in my life.
Wow.
Okay. This is a profound, deep understanding of what's going on. I'm going back to the science.
Hmm.
Part of the brain, we're now dealing with. Do you see how we're dealing with word analysis and articulation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have 2.5 times that neuroactivity. ADD and ADHD, is your son ADD or ADHD? Which one?
ADD.
Okay. Almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I found that to be a joke. You're having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
When this was given to my class, no, and these kids are voluntarily taking the subject matter. None of them could understand it. I'm like, and I literally said this, what the heck? I used a more stronger word. What
Yeah.
the heck? I'm the dyslectic one. This is a joke. And they looked at me and said, no, this is impossible. I said, no, this is a joke. It's so easy. What's going on? What I found is there are a few people, Gen Ed, that can do both. They essentially have
Mm.
like the overactivity in the front part of my brain and the massive activity that you have. They're what I call
Wow.
full brain people, otherwise known as university professors.
Uh,
Most of the reading teachers, when I do this in major dyslexia conferences, most of them can't get past the first paragraph. Why? Because it's so dense. There's 17
mm-hmm.
pieces of information there that are critical. And that
Yeah.
you're used to reading so fast, you're going off the rails. This literally turns you dyslectic.
Hmm.
Okay. So dyslexia is not a reading disorder, it's a symptom. And I show dyslectics how to read this material.
Hmm.
Okay. Now,
I'm I'm
if your son
processing.
could,
Dyslexia is a symptom. Like that's my brain exploded a little bit when you said that because I have never ever heard that, but it makes so much sense now that you have explained all of this.
right. Well, the real problem is lack of organization in the front part of the brain. That's why I
Yes, he
showed you
struggles
step
with that.
two. We force the brain to organize itself to, we force the brain to organize itself. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
that corrects everything. All right. So what I do is I finish up teaching dyslexics and ADD and ADHD kids this. What's the difference between the two? ADD kids just pick it up so much faster. All right. He could read this. He's not going to have trouble in college.
Hmm.
What area of the country are you in right now?
I'm in Oklahoma,
Oklahoma. How far is the way away is the closest state supported community college?
right here in
Like
Norman.
right, but
It's a
how you hop in the car? How long to get there?
it's 15 minutes at the most.
Okay, I'd recommend you send your son there. Understand it's going to take him 5 years for a 4 year degree. Bill Cosby tried that with his dyslexic kid. He dropped to 12 credits. He was at Columbia and he was an A student
Hmm.
because we have to work a lot harder.
Wow, absolutely fascinating. Oh, this has been such a wonderful conversation.
Mhm.
Thank you again for being here and for doing what you do, using your lived experience to help other people and guide them and help all these students, teachers, and parents. I'm just really grateful for you being here today. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I will put your links in the show notes so that those of you
Mhm.
watching can reach you with just one click. And until next
Mhm.
time, I will be here holding space for you. Thank you for being here. And to my guest, thank you for your honesty, your courage, and your truth. It's an honor to hold space for people like you. If something in this episode stirred something in you, if you breathed deeper, softened, or felt a pull inward, consider this your invitation. Whether you're ready to share publicly or prefer to remain anonymous, I'd love to hold space for you too. This work isn't just for podcasts, it's for people everywhere. And I'm bringing it into businesses, schools, communities, organizations, anywhere humans need a place to be and for someone to hold space for them. To learn more or to schedule your own session or to be a guest on this podcast, visit www.getamyshelp.com or just reach out to me. I'll meet you with open arms and a quiet, sacred seat. Until next time, thank you for being beautifully, unapologetically human.